people who are working dual jobs in so many ways, especially in post office.
Okay. Some of the other distinctions that I remember, or characteristics that I remember, they talk about, actually you alluded to it in terms of the hours of work. Mara, mainly what they're talking about is the degree of authority and in a way control that a potential or that an employer has over the employee's time. Well, you see, whereas with an independent contractor, control is really most dictated by the service level agreement as a contract between the two of them, which then it means that the independent contractor has more control than an employee in terms of what ends up in that contract, right? Because if you look at the service level agreement, it's similar to an employment agreement in terms of just discussing the terms of employment and the conditions of employment, right? For example, deciding, work hours and how long and so on and so forth, right? But an employee has less leverage in their negotiation with the employer, whereas an independent contractor, being that they can actually subcontract on multiple projects at the same time because they themselves are a business usually, right? But even if it's an individual, they can then dictate, this is when I'm available, this is when I'll be able to come, and so on and so forth, and then have to negotiate. So my point is, it goes back to that, to say that this sort of, because it seems to me like it is a restriction to say employees are not allowed, right? They're not allowed. And in fact, in certain company policies, it is a fireable offense. You see, that to find out that someone actually has a second job, even something like, for example, an independent contractor being a business, like if they're doing my garden, they can bring anyone on any of the days where they're supposed to do my garden. As long as it's the same company, they can bring different people, right? This is putting aside customer service issues, all right? Just because they work for the same company, they can bring different people. But an employee, when I've hired an employee, the employee cannot send someone else that they know who also has a skill to do the job on their part, and then they will share the salary. I pay the employee. I don't pay anything extra. You see what I'm saying? And I'm saying that these restrictions to me don't really make sense, and they seem to make sense only with the agenda to disempower the employee relative to the employer. To give the employer more leverage and therefore less power in that relationship.